And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
And if we're talking tight ends and we're going into round 2, maybe round 3, give me Ian Thomas, please. Let's just do the damn thing.
Just based on giving his overall ability. Again, I like his arm. I think he can make every throw.
The pick at number 12 is in.
So we're back, Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Russell Brown. Special guest today joining me, Kenny Willekes of Michigan State University, edge rusher, very talented player, 51 tackles for loss in the course of his career, former walk-on. Got a chance to talk to him at the Senior Bowl where I met him, finding out that we're both, former Spartans at this point. Kenny, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. You are a very talented player that has caught the eyes of many people through the 2020 NFL draft process. I don't want to jump into that process just yet. I want to start really with your high school career where you were listed from, according to 24/7 Sports, as an inside linebacker in your hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan at North Point High School. Explain to me a little bit about how long you played on varsity. Were you a 4-year guy, a 3-year starter? What were some of those things that you did at North Point?
All right. So, my freshman year, I actually went to an even smaller school than North Point. It's called Plymouth Christian, and we didn't have sports there. So I played youth football as a freshman in high school. I transferred to North Point after that year and ended up getting the start as a sophomore at Mike linebacker. I was maybe 175 pounds back then. And, kind of like I did at Michigan State, was able to build my body up over the years to, like 200. My junior year, I started at Mike linebacker both years. And then my senior year, I was like 220, and I started at running back and Mike linebacker.
Awesome. So when you played at Plymouth Christian, is that in the city of Plymouth, Michigan? Or is that somewhere?
In Grand Rapids.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I'm
as well.
All right, I'm from Plymouth, so I'm like, and I think there's a Plymouth Christian out this way. So I'm like, wait a minute, that would have been a very small world. But so you walked on at Michigan State. How was your recruiting process? I mean, there was obviously, I'm sure, some interest from teams like Grand Valley State, Western Michigan, some of the smaller schools, I guess, in the state of Michigan. But how did you ultimately end up at Michigan State?
Yeah, I honestly didn't talk to any Division I programs other than a recruiter from Minnesota before I talked to Michigan State. I didn't get any offers from a single MAC school. I didn't even get talked to by a MAC school. My biggest offers were Wayne State, Ferris State. You say Grand Valley, that was right by my hometown. That's where I wanted to go. They never even offered me.
Oh,
wow. So, Michigan State gave me the opportunity to be preferred walk-on, and I jumped at it immediately.
When you were growing up, were you a Michigan fan or a Michigan State fan? You can be honest with this question. It's okay.
Michigan State fan.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, that's fair. That it makes a lot of sense for you to go to Michigan State. And so explain to me like your first year. A lot of people think, so many guys, scholarship guys, kind of have the world in the palm of their hands. You had to work your ass off to get to where you are today, a walk-on. Explain to me kind of year one and what did you do in year one to not just transform, like you said, 175-pound Mike linebacker, but how did you transform your body even more into the defensive lineman that you are today?
I'd say staying consistent with the work. As a Division I full, as an athlete of any sport, you're required to do a million lifts, a million conditioning, nonstop, waking up early to do that stuff. And it's easy to be able, when it's so repetitive and, you're waking up early, you're trying to do school, it's easy just to slap through it. But, if you're able to, I was able to continue to lock in and, continue to try and build my body up each and every day, work mentally in the film room. And then, on the field, continue to work my craft each and every day. I think I was Scout Team Player of the Week 7 times as a true freshman. So, practice for me, that was my game day. So I loved practice. I loved team periods. I would just go out there act like it was my game day. And, that's kind of how I played football my freshman year.
And it shows through your entire career. You consistently got better year after year. You got bigger, you got stronger, you got faster year after year. And beyond just all that, you got more productive. So, it all stands out in that regard. But how was like a day-to-day for those like, before the show you spoke with my son a little bit, how is the day-to-day for an athlete, especially being a walk-on and everything? How is that day-to-day? What's really like the regimen like? are you waking up going straight to class? Are you waking up working out? How much sleep are you really getting?
Yeah, it depends on the day. It depends on the schedule if you're in season, out of season. But usually in the season, I got a early morning lift. You go to a 6 a.m. lift early in the morning. After that, grab a quick bite of breakfast, go to whatever classes you have throughout the day. And then, any free time you really have during the day spent at the building, especially during the season, get extra rehab, extra weightlifting on your own if you need it, a lot of extra film work, especially during the season. We put in a lot of extra time. If you want to really study and break down the film, you got to spend a lot of extra time on than what you just have with your coaches. And then we would have practice at like 2, and you go through a couple hours of meetings, and you got practice. And then after practice, you're usually out there a little extra. If you got to work on your craft, especially coming up as a walk-on, I would spend a lot of extra days out there just practicing my techniques. I didn't get as many reps in practice as some of the, starters or some of the scholarship players. So I'd have to go and do extra reps, extra work by myself. And then, usually go to the cold tub after, and you get home about 7, 8 and get a couple hours at night. You start it all over again the next day.
Yeah. And when you started, you obviously were in a locker room filled with talented senior players from, Darian Harris, the linebacker, to Shaq Calhoun, to the Bolas. How was it like when you have those types of leaders and those types of seniors in your locker room? Does it rub off on you in a positive way? And as you continue your career, do you pick up what they're preaching and kind of the culture that was built there from Mark Dantonio and all those players that stuck it out for 4 years and built something special over a 13-year span? Did that kind of rub off in a way that you were able to capitalize through your senior year as well?
Yeah, most definitely. You can tell the guys that, the leaders in the locker room, the way they hold themselves, they carry themselves as a professional almost, putting in the extra work, putting in the extra time. And at Michigan State, for us, it was all about work. Whether you're doing conditioning, whether you're putting in extra film, just pretty much whatever you're doing, you're giving it your all. We talk about earn the jersey a lot. Some Coach Manny talks about in each and every day you want to earn the jersey. So do something each and every day to earn that jersey. And, that's kind of what's preached and passed down, and that's the kind of leader that I try to be as well.
What's it like playing for a guy like Mark Dantonio?
It's great. I love playing for Coach Dantonio. He's a great guy on and off the field. Obviously on the field, he developed a lot of great players. He helped me become the football player I am today. He's not afraid to yell at you. He's going to push you and challenge you to become a great player. And he's going to get that greatness out of you if it's in you. And then, off the field, he really cares about you as a human. I've had many conversations about faith and life with him, even when I was just a walk-on, freshman, random walk-on, long-haired walk-on from West Michigan.
It's a great picture, by the way.
The head coach of Michigan State University has me up in his office talking to me, for an hour on a Thursday night just about life. So, I appreciate him, and, I'm thankful for everything he did for me.
Absolutely. And as just a fan, I'm thankful for everything he did for that program and just all the great Saturdays and moments that me just as a fan to have. So obviously I appreciate that. I appreciate your efforts on the field. Your standout for, in my opinion, and everything that you did. 51 tackles, like I mentioned, for loss in your career. How do you credit that? Is it your work ethic? Is it the film that you study? Is it the skill set that you have? Is it a mixture of both, or is it really the coaches kind of getting you in the right place at the right time?
When you have records like that, 51 tackles, there's not one thing you can put your finger on.
Mm-hmm.
It's partially coaching, partially hard work, partially just the ability to play the game. I put in a lot of work studying the film. Our coaches drew up a lot of plays, put me in the right position, and then it just comes down to going out there and competing each and every snap, giving everything you got. And, I've felt like throughout my entire playing career, even in high school, where I actually ranked up 423 career tackles, I've always had a knack and ability to just get around the ball and constantly be around the ball and affect the ball. So, I think that's something that I've always had with me. And part of that comes from just constantly being relentless, constantly chasing down plays.
Yeah, folks, I'll tell you, if you watch Michigan State defense, you will see Kenny Willekes every play in on a play somehow, some way, whether you're throwing guys out of the club or you're chasing them down from the backside pursuit. But we talk about film a lot, especially on Cover One. We're always watching film. We're always preaching and trying to teach some things that we know. What are some things that you look for when you're watching film, not just on yourself, but against like the opponent? When you're watching an offensive lineman, are you watching more so for tendencies? Is it more so scheme? Is it everything? I mean, what are some things that you look for?
Yeah, we usually break it down. When I first break down an opponent, I always start with the tackles. Tackles tend to give a lot of tendencies away, honestly. Where their eyes are looking, they'll tell you a lot. A lot of younger tackles, inexperienced tackles will tell you where they're going with their eyes. The level of their pads, if their foot's tilted out, pointed out, how they have their hands based on run, pass. You can study those things and get a pretty good feel of what kind of plays are coming just based off the tackle. I go to tight ends and running backs as well next usually, and usually that they're more based off alignment. Is there a tight end outside the tackle, the tight end inside the tackle? How close is the tackle? What kind of plays are they running out of that? Is the running back dip right behind a little bit behind the quarterback? Is he a little deep, or is he flat with the quarterback? Is he wide? Those type of things, and then formations down and distances. So. This down distance, they like to do this. This down distance, they like to do this. On this formation, these are tendencies. I mean, the typical type of thing. That's usually last for me, but I prefer to study, what a tackle does, what are his tendencies, because that kind of tips me off the best, because that's what I'm looking at.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer to be in a down and distance of, let's say third and 7, 3rd and 8? They're passing the football. You can just pin back and go get the quarterback. Do you prefer a situation like that, or do you prefer kind of those 1st and 10s where you're really guessing what's exactly happening? You could see a run, you could see a pass, you don't know. Do you prefer to rush that pass, or do you prefer to kind of stop the run?
It depends. That's a hard question. I like doing both.
Right.
I've gotten a lot more into enjoying rushing the passer over these last couple of years. I think that's kind of an art. It's something I really enjoy doing, but, I also enjoy lining up and hitting someone in the mouth and stopping the run. So I'd have to say those are probably pretty even for me.
Yeah, you've had a game against Ohio State where you were smacking people in the mouth quite a few times, and I think that's what really, that game there alone really kind of caught people, I don't want to say by surprise, but that was the one, not this past year, but the year before, where people were like, oh, this kid's legit. But you talk about pass rush and how it's kind of an art to it. We all pay attention to the NFL. We all watch it. Is there a guy in the NFL that you watch consistently on a Sunday afternoon, or that you go back and you watch the tape and you say, I'm studying this guy. This is the guy. I like what he brings to the table?
I wouldn't say there's one certain guy. I think I have a pretty unorthodox style of pass rush, a little style of play, so I don't really model my game after anyone. And a lot of the guys that, I do watch, they're freakishly athletically gifted, so you got to know what you can and can't do. But, I enjoy watching Von Miller. He gave me the opportunity to come out and pass rush to his pass rush summit this past offseason, so, I always enjoy watching him. I'm a big fan of Frank Clark and Khalil Mack. I think they play the game very physical, and they're both 3-down players, complete football players. That's what I love about them. They're going to play the run and earn the right to pass rush. And then I'm a big fan of Chandler Jones as well. He had 7 strip sacks this year, a complete game changer. I like that.
Yeah, Chandler Jones is incredibly underrated, and he's got a plethora of pass rush moves that I don't think get appreciated enough. And for a guy that can use a long arm technique or just use a speed rush off the edge, and just the combination of everything that he brings to the table, not enough people talk about that guy. And I feel like here soon, the same thing's going to be happening about you. Not enough people are going to be talking about you and the production that you bring to the table. A couple more questions, and then I'll get out of your way. But your senior year, you had the broken left fibula. You were kind of projected to go pro that year, and then you broke the left fibula, and then you kind of came back. Were you coming back regardless, or did that pull the trigger on you saying, I got to come back one more year?
I pulled the trigger. I was probably going to declare, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, how hard was it to come back from that? I mean, did it kind of deflate you a little bit? Did it make you work even harder? Did it make you, I mean, did you have to, I obviously had to change some of the things that you do in the weight room for sure, right?
Yeah. No, it definitely made me work harder. I believe everything happens for a reason. I'm not the type that's going to sit around and mope for myself. I broke my leg. What happens next? All right, we get surgery, we rehab, try to come back from it. I'd say the hardest thing for me was just having to sit out winter conditioning, sit out summer or spring ball and just be on the sideline for that. Love being out there competing with the guys. But, I think it helped me grow as a leader. I've always been a guy that's going to lead by example and then, tell people how to do it. I'm always going to be the guy. I'm going to do it first myself. If I'm sprinting around the field, I can tell you to do it. So, I had to learn how to lead while being sidelined and not doing it myself. I think I grew a lot in that area.
For sure. Well, I met you down at the Senior Bowl, which is always a fun experience. It's fun for me in the media, but obviously for the players, it can probably be a lot. You're probably getting a ton of questions thrown your way, meeting with 15, 20 teams a day. How was that experience down there at the Senior Bowl in Alabama?
I had a great experience. Obviously it's a little hectic, a little busy, like you say, but you come in with the work mindset. It's 1 week. I'm going to come in, I'm going to do the work. It's not as bad if you come in with the right mindset. And, I thought it was pretty the best thing about it to me personally is just being able to learn from all the, other great players in the country out there. A lot of the defensive ends I was out there with, a lot of the edge rushers I was out there with are some of the top in the country. So, be able to bounce pass rush moves back and forth, work back and forth with some of the best in the country. I thought that was the funnest thing for me.
I can't remember if you were playing for the Bengals or the Lions. You were playing for the Lions, right? Because you were working with Bradley and I after. How was that? I mean, did you grow up a Lions fan?
I did not grow up a Lions fan, no.
Well, who did you grow up a fan of?
I actually grew up a fan of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, it didn't really matter for you. You're there to do work. I mean, what's it like for playing with a coach like Matt Patricia? How was that week like?
It was a great week. The Lions coaching staff, they were pushing us and challenging us. You could tell off the beginning they wanted to win the game. There was the goal. They weren't there to mess around. I appreciate that about them. We got right to business. We worked hard all week, and we were able to get the win. You could see it in the game on Saturday. That's why I just like that about them, the way they were able to push us and challenge us.
For sure. And there's been some mixed reports here in the city of Detroit of people not liking them, not liking their practice style, this, that, and the third. So it sounds like it actually isn't too bad. So with that, I mean, I'll finish up. I got two, 3 more questions, I promise. What's your favorite pass rush move? What's your go-to?
I'd say my speed to power because that opens up the rest of my game. I like to set everything up with power, so I'm going to hit him with power, over and over again, and I'm going to be able to come with a long arm ghost, long arm double sweep, or, come inside off the show power and come inside. So, I think everything for me just sets up off my power and physicality.
For sure. And so with that, I mean, you went to the combine, tremendous, I'm assuming, week there, probably similar in a sense as the Senior Bowl with the meetings with the teams. How was the combine, and how would you explain your experience?
The combine was great. Like I said, with the Senior Bowl, if you come in with that mindset, that you're going to dominate the week, I think that helps instead of, so I got to go to another meeting, I got to do this, I got to do that. If you come in with the mindset you're going to dominate the week, I think it helps to go by a lot easier. But, it's a great experience to be around all those guys, be around a bunch of guys that have the same goals, that are working just as hard as you are. And then it's a hectic week, but, it was a lot of fun. I was able to get out on the field and compete.
10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
How many years from now, you said?
10 years.
10 years. Hopefully I'm still playing. Hopefully my body holds up. I can keep playing.
For sure, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. You guys can follow him on Twitter at KennyW97. Kenny, you got anything else for me, man?
I do not. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Go green.
Absolutely, man. Go white. Appreciate it. Folks, like I said, you can follow him on Twitter at Kenny W97. You, of course, can find me on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft. Until next time, this is Cover One, the Draft Podcast.